You tell yourself the Bobcat quit on you out of nowhere. It didn't. It warned you for weeks. Every real breakdown on a 5,600 starts is a small, boring symptom you already learned to ignore. The trick isn't muscle or luck. It's catching the machine mid-whisper before it starts shouting at you. So let's walk the known weak points. What breaks first, what it feels like, and what it costs. Start with the one that fools everyone. The hydraulics feeling a little tired on a cold morning. You fire it up cold, the lift arms come up sluggish, and you shrug it off as the chill. But sluggish when cold is often the charge pump quietly telling you its pressure started to drift. At idle, that charge circuit should sit around 350 psi, 24 bar, holding the whole system fed. Let it starve, and every pump and motor downstream runs half dry, wearing where you'll never see it. The cheap version, your oil's cold and thick, or the filter's overdue. An afternoon and a filter. The expensive version, that charge pressure never climbs to spec, and now you're into the pump itself. Here's the tell that separates the two, and it's hiding in the hydraulic oil temperature. The system's happy around 140 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 Celsius. That's normal operating heat for the fluid. Cold and thick reads one way, but if it throws hydraulic oil temp out of range low, listen closely. That code means the sensor sees fluid colder than makes sense. A real fault, not just weather. Ignore it and you're guessing. Read it and the machine just told you where to look first. That's the whole game on this platform. The codes aren't nagging you. They're a map you can read. Now the second weight point, the cylinders that do the actual work, lifting and tilting the load. The first symptom is one you feel in the seat, a loaded arm that slowly sags on its own. You lift a full bucket, walk away, and come back to find it's drifted an inch toward the ground. That drift is a relief valve or a seal not holding the load the way it's rated to hold. On the lift circuit, that port relief is set to open at 30-30-35 psi, 230 bar by the book. If that just made the sagging bucket make sense, that's exactly what this channel is for. Stick around, because here's where cheap and expensive split, and most people guess wrong on this exact one. Cheap, the relief valve's out of adjustment, so it dumps pressure early and the arm won't hold. You reset it to spec, confirm it opens right at 30-35 psi, and you're back to work by lunch. Expensive, the relief holds fine, but the cylinder seal is blown and oil bypasses inside the barrel. Now the fix means pulling the lift cylinder off the machine, a real bench job, not a roadside tweak. The tilt side has its own number. That port relief is set higher at 4060 psi 280 bar. Same story, different circuit. A tilt that won't curl under load points you straight at that relief first. And the manual is honest about the danger here. These reliefs sit behind pressure that can injure or kill. That's why you set them with a gauge on the diagnostic port, not by feel and a hopeful guess. Third weak point is what makes a 5,600 special, and special means more to break, the steering. This machine runs front steer and four-wheel steer, switched by solenoids opening and closing on command. The first symptom is subtle. It tracks a little crabwise, or four-wheel mode doesn't want to engage. Behind that are the ACD output solenoids. The machine literally names them output A through E. When one coil fails, you don't get a mystery. You get a code like ACD output, A error on, that points at one specific solenoid, not the whole system. So you replace a coil, not a controller. That's the cheap ending. A single failed solenoid caught early, swapped before its strands are steering. The expensive ending is what happens when you drive through that warning for a month straight, because those steering and drive circuits lean on wheel speed sensors to know what each corner's doing. The first symptom, two-speed shifting, gets clunky, or the drive feels like it's second-guessing you. The machine flags it plainly. Front wheel speed sensor high or low, naming the sensor and the direction. A sensor's cheap and lives outside the sealed guts. Cheap fix if you read the code and go straight there. Guess instead and you'll throw parts at a drive motor that was never actually the problem. Now the one that ends the whole workday fast. The brake coil that's supposed to hold you still. The first symptom is a brake pedal that feels wrong, or a park brake that won't cleanly release. The 5,600 watches that coil closely, it'll call brake coil error, or brake coil no signal. No signal means it's reaching for the coil and hearing nothing back, an open circuit, not a soft pedal. The cheap version is a chafed wire or a loose connector, an hour with a meter and a crimp. The expensive version is the coil itself, and until it's fixed, the machine won't trust its own brakes. Here's a weak point that isn't even a broken part, and it fools plenty of good mechanics. The travel and brake pedals have to be calibrated so the machine knows they're true zero and full. Lose that and it throws travel pedal not calibrated or brake pedal not calibrated, plain as day. The symptom is a machine that creeps with your foot off or lurches when you barely touch it. The cheap fix is running the calibration procedure, no parts, just following the steps in the right order. But skip it, chase a ghost in the hydraulics, and you'll spend a repair bill on absolutely nothing. Weak point number 6 is the slow killer. Nobody clocks until it's too late. Plain old heat. The first symptom is a temp needle that climbs a little higher each afternoon and takes longer to fall. The machine escalates it in stages: coolant temp high, then extremely high, then a shutdown level. That word shutdown isn't a threat. It's the machine promising to save itself by stopping you cold. Cheap: a packed cooler core or low coolant, a rinse and a top-off, caught while it's merely high. Expensive: you ran it into shutdown level for weeks, and now the heat's cooked something a rinse can't reach. The same ladder exists for engine oil pressure: low, then extremely low, then a shutdown level of its own. Oil pressure low is a warning. Oil pressure shutdown is the machine choosing the engine's life over your schedule. The last weak point is the one that strands you in the yard, not on the job: electrical power. The first symptom is a slow crank on a cold morning that you blame on the weather, again. The 5600 grades your battery in bands: voltage low, extremely low, high, and extremely high. Extremely high isn't a dead battery. It's a charging system overshooting and slowly boiling everything downstream. Cheap is a loose ground or a tired battery. Expensive is the alternator cooking your electronics from inside. So step back and look at the pattern hiding under all 6 of these weak points at once. Every one of them whispers first: a sag, a clunk, a slow crank, a needle creeping up. And everyone has a code that names the exact part before you've spent a single dime guessing. Cheap afternoon versus real repair bill almost never comes down to the machine. It comes down to how early you listened. So, the takeaway is simple. When a code shows, write down those numbers and look them up before you touch a wrench. Because the same symptom can be a filter or a pump, and only the code tells you which one hits. That's the difference between the guy who replaces a coil and the guy who replaces a whole controller. Read the whisper, and a 5600 will tell you its own weak points before they ever become your weekend. The exact pressures, codes, and procedures are all in the service manual linked below. Trust the numbers, not the feel. Like this, if it saved you a guess. And subscribe for daily diagnostics. Next up, reading these codes live on the display.